The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here, the post-SWC balance patch. This one is always much more impactful than the pre-SWC balance patch because they don't like to change the meta too much before the big tournament. They like to wait till after the tournament to see like, okay, what went ridiculous crazy and people calling for nerfs. Let's consider nerfing those in the balance patch. They actually did. I didn't take a look at the entire thing. I kind of glanced over it. They actually did nerf some of the things that went a little crazy in SWC, and they did buff some things. Let's go take a look at it together, though. Like I said, I glanced at it a little bit just to see, like, oh, Oliver got a nerf. It's not a crazy nerf. It's a nerf. He can't go absolutely ridiculous, but it's not like a crazy nerf where he's like, oh, he's unusable now, right? Among some other things. So let's get started. Also, I want to mention that this is just part 1 of 2 because this is the balance patch. There's also going to be more coming in the update. Not entirely sure what is going to be included with the update when they actually activate this balance patch and everything else, but there should be some more quality of life improvements. We'll see if there's hopefully some new 2As. I really hope so because I think it's been a while. We need some new 2As, but they've been working on the SWC, the Chronicles. Technically, it's also SWC as the initials, but they were working on the Chronicles, so hopefully they didn't have all that time to only Chronicles and they still did 2As. I hope. We'll see. I mean, we'll see in like a day, right? So here's a walkthrough of the monster balancing we will be carrying out soon. We've been paying close attention as always. They always say that. So monster Wind Sky Surfer Oliver Mega Impulse Gun absorbs effect changed, absorbs the attack bar by 100%, is now reduced the enemy's attack bar to 0 and increases your attack bar in proportion to the reduced attack bar. So the change to this, I know some people are curious what the change actually is. They're like, it seems like it's the same thing. If you attack a unit that has no attack bar, it's not going to absorb attack bar because it had no attack bar to steal. Right now it's just going to steal more, so he's not going to be able to just get infinite turns. He's going to at some point be like, oh, I'm stealing attack bar from someone that doesn't have attack bar, so I steal nothing, and then the opponents might get turns. Some other characters on Oliver's side might get turns. He's still going to be very muddy. He's still going to be very usable. He's just going to be a little bit less ridiculous. Not very much less ridiculous, just a little bit. Dark Slayer and Dark Bison HP recovery is going to be removed completely. He's still going to provoke, but no sustain. So he can't solo things like crazy. I mean, this is kind of like trying to stop things from soloing and being too ridiculous. Light Battle Angel EMP Shock removes all beneficial effects on all enemies. Is now removes one beneficial effect on all enemies, which, I mean, if you have Shield Will, it does make an actual difference. Light Kung Fu Girl, which was ridiculous. I mean, the Light Battle Angel, her win rate was very high when she first came out, and the people kind of got better at countering her. I wonder if they just left it, because she's kind of newer. I wonder if they just left it, if her win rate would get kind of a little bit more normal by people just having better counters and understanding how to counter her. And understanding how to, I gotta say the same thing twice, right? But yeah, I mean, this is nice. It makes her a little bit less ridiculous. A unit that strips and increases cooldowns. Turn 1 is, I mean, people were going ham with that. But she's still good. She's just, you know, Shield Will is a way to counter her now. Also have the Light Kung Fu Girl, Light Dragon Attack. Each attack absorbs the enemy's attack bar by 20% instead of 25. She's still gonna be meta. She's gonna be less ridiculous, but Guild Siege Defense, Violent Procs, is still gonna be ridiculous. You're still gonna see the replays of like, this unit went absolutely insane and made me throw my phone, and now I deleted Summoner's War and whatever. Water Mage, Soul Harvest passive revives the ally with 20% HP. Not really sure. It's such a small percentage. Not really sure why they even touched the Water Mage, because I think that people aren't really complaining about Water Mage anymore. They're mostly complaining about like Oliver. And what else are they complaining about? We did a whole video on what they're complaining. Oliver, Gurkha, some Masha. Masha can get pretty ridiculous. Let's see if Masha... I didn't see Masha in here when I glanced over it. But Light Mage, Time of Destruction, deals additional damage in proportion to the destroyed HP. With Time of Destruction, is now deals additional damage in proportion to target's total amount of destroyed HP after destroying the HP. Damage increased by approximately... So this is nice for Light Mage owners. Let's see if this is going to be enough. Let's see if this is going to be enough. So this is just if things are already destroyed. Like if you bring Beth in before this, it's going to be more beneficial. Water Art Master seems interesting. I'm sorry, this stuff is very, very loud in the background. I wish I could change it right now, but I can't without pausing the video. Actually, maybe I should try that. Pause the video. I've never tried to actually pause the recording before, so hopefully that didn't do anything crazy. Hopefully that was still okay. I can't edit things right now because I have a video rendering, so I can't have another thing rendering. The Water Art Master, though, Art of Blank Space, I think this is going to be interesting because it's such a unit that is kind of an odd, like you have to wrap your head around actually playing with him, actually understanding how to use him. I think it's a unit that takes a while to actually get the hang of. And this is just going to make him, I think this is going to actually make him more useful overall. I mean, obviously anything that gets buffed in the balance patch, he's changed more than buffs, but I think this is going to be, it's going to be kind of interesting though. I mean, I guess you could say that about anything though. Dark Art Master, but I think this is one people are going to glance over, and it's actually going to be more impactful than initially thought. That's what I mean to say on that. Dark Art Master grants immunity on all allies for 3 turns, which is nice. I feel like the Dark Art Master is a good unit. Every time I fight against him, I'm like, I wouldn't mind getting that one. He seems like a unit that would fit at least my playstyle. So, but it doesn't seem like it's too crazy. Grants immunity on all allies for 3 turns now. Ifrit's Super Crush stun rate is now 40%, which is not bad for a Camir and Veramos. Dark Ifrit conversion of magic. This is going to be kind of annoying for some new players in TOA and TOA hard. Removes harmful effects after taking damage from continuous damage or bomb. Removes harmful effects before taking damage. Now also attack bar increases by 10%, is 15% for each harmful effect remaining on the ally after attacking. I think this is going to be very frustrating for new players in TOA and TOA hard. Make sure you just bring Lauren and Spectra, and you should be fine. Hopefully, just don't let him get a turn, because if he gets a turn, he's going to be ridiculous. And then we have, what is this? Oh, the Ryus, Water and Light Ryu, and the Strikers. Actually, also, Fire Kent and Fire Shadowclaw. This is all the same thing right here. Anything that's got that skill 2 that's going to strip and absorb attack gauge. Now, instead of absorbing the attack gauge, it's kind of odd. But they did this, I think, because the Robos were so, like, they kept buffing the Robos, and they were like, oh, Robos are kind of possibly better than the Strikers now. So, the Strikers, Ryus, Shadowclaws, whatever. So let's buff the Shadowclaw and the Ken and the Striker and the Ryu to be better, since we buffed the Robos so much. We can't really nerf the Robos now. So, I mean, they could, but whatever. Now, instead of absorbing the attack bar by 10% with 30% chance, it's going to do between 10 to 20 with a 30% chance. So, that's going to make them even better. But they're already good. Like, he's already good. Like, the Water Strikers are already good. Like, these units are not bad. They're just buffing them because Robos. Then we have Light Ryu. Damage increased by 9%. There's always one. There's always one. But also, effect to add increase your crit rate for 2 turns before attacking. That's nice. You need less stats on him. So you need only 70% crit rate. And then we have Dark Shadowcaster. Shadow Trap passive. Cooldown reduced by 1 turn. Trying to think of what the Dark Shadowcaster does. It's been so long. I never see him actually being used. Wind Monkey King. We'll take a look at him after the buff. I'm sure someone's got him that we could take a look. But it's just a cooldown reduction anyway. Monkey King, Wind Monkey King. Effect add increase the harmful effect activation rate by 50% when counterattacking with a passive skill. Does not reply to Revenge Rune set effect. So, if he's protecting his allies, he can stun more. Is basically what it is, which is nice. It's nice because he's a unit that is important in the meta, especially against when your enemies are taking a lot of turns, especially against Oliver, things like Oliver, right? So that's kind of like a second nerf to Oliver. Is Wind Monkey, which he kind of always was, but he's going to be more likely to stun now with skill 1. What do we have now? Water Paladin, just the strike attack won't land as a glancing hit. Is now attack always lands as a critical hit. Interesting. I actually didn't see this the first time I glanced. Like I said, I glanced over it, but always lands a critical hit. Interesting. Even against Onimushas, right? Because that's kind of the thing where even against our Kinky is what I mean. That's an underrated skill though. Water Paladin's first skill. Fire Paladin, Cry of Threat. Effect added gains immunity on all allies for 1 turn with a Cry of Threat. Interesting. I don't think that makes her super crazy meta. I think she basically stays the same for the most part. She's basically used the same amount, I feel. Hell Lady, Fire, Wind, Dark, Shatter when the attack lands a critical hit. So this is a multi, it's hits twice. AoE, area of effect skill. When the attack lands a critical hit, your attack bar increases by 10%, is now 15%. So she's basically getting a turn after that. If she wasn't getting a turn before, which half the time before she was basically getting a turn already. 15%. So if you have 4 enemies and you crit every time, that's 8 crits. That's 15%, which is 120% attack bar. So that's basically another turn, if my math is correct, which, you know, who knows if the math is correct. But yeah, so that's basically granting her both Rocky and Ethna. I know also the dark one, but not everyone has the dark one. Most people don't have the dark one. So yeah, that's nice. That's basically if they get their skill 2 off and there's enough opponents, something's going to die after that, because something's going to get defense broken, and then they can just do skill 3 right afterwards. So Fire and Dark Archangel. Decreased defense for 1 turn is now 2 turns. Removed the continuous damage. The continuous damage, I don't feel like the continuous damage right there was doing too much. At least we get a 2-turn defense, but it should have been 2 turns to begin with. It's a skill 2. It's a single target. It should have been 2 turns to begin with, in my opinion, but I feel like that's already what it should have been, and it shouldn't have had continuous damage. But whatever. Fire and Dark Archangel. At least they're addressing some of these units that we mentioned here, and then also other people have mentioned in other places as well. So at least they're addressing, like, again, like the Oliver and things like that. I didn't see any Masha, but at least they're addressing the things that people are asking for in general. What do we have? Desert Queen, Wind and Light Desert Queen. Skill 2, Sweet Dreams. Effect added targets without beneficial. So it strips and sleeps for 1 turn. Effects without targets without beneficial effects are put to sleep for 2 turns. They nerfed Hathor so much, and they're like, we're gonna buff Hathor. Could you imagine if they buffed Hathor like 2 years ago? People would freak out. They'd be like, how are you buffing this unit that's so OP already? But now there's just so many counters to Hathor. There's just so many counters to Hathor, just naturally, right? So, yeah, like Masha, Fire, Monkey, all of the Hypnomeows. Basically, just if you have a Hypnomeow, there's nothing Hathor can do. There's like, okay, we got to ban the Hypnomeow, and then you bring a second Hypnomeow. Oh man, what else? I mean, people still run Hathor teams. It's just harder because there's more counters. Speaking of Hypnomeows, oh no, we're not on the Hypnomeows just yet. Sea Emperor, Fire and Dark, Spear of Devastation, skill 2, strips, and it's two beneficial effects now instead of just 1. So before, it's kind of annoying if the opponents had Shield and Will on their team, and he would just strip the Shield, and then the Will would still be on there, and he doesn't reset anything. So now, even Shield Will, he's going to remove 2 things, and then reset. So also pretty decent against, like, if you take Wusa against him, he's going to be able to still strip both of Wusa's buffs. So again, shield and immunity, which is basically what I just said. What else do we have? Fire Pioneer. Sleeve attack damage proportion to attack powers. Now attack power and attack speed, and he's always built as a super fast unit. So that's just gonna be better for him in general. Then what do we have? Demon, Water Demon, repeated nightmare, shield amount increased by 71% proportion to caster's level. Interesting. I didn't even notice this the first time. I saw Water Demon and I must have just passed right over it. That seems, I guess we'll see. We'll play with it. We'll see. Hypnomeows. So for all of the Hypnomeows, Fire, Water, Dark, Wind, and Light, effect add attack speed increased by 30% while sleeping, which is nice. I mean, they're not useful in every situation though. They're kind of, a lot of them are counter picks. You could pick the Fire one just whenever. He's a solid unit regardless, but some of them are just counter pick type of. Well, the Dark one's a pretty good one just in general. Water one, I thought when we first saw the Hypnomeows, I thought that the Fire one was going to be the one that I wound up using the most. The Water one is the one that I wind up using the most, strangely enough. I'm like, this unit's just very effective for Guild Siege for the most part, but Yeah. Water Assassin. Blade Dancer the Reaper decreases enemy attack bar by 10%, is now absorbs by 15%. Very interesting. She's already a unit that's useful, again, like I said, in Siege. Some people like to run Susano, Orion, and Stella. So now this is just going to make her even better. That could be... That's because she does so many hits with that. So I think that that might actually be something that people glance over, but is actually going to be more impactful than people realize. Fire Assassin, Deadly... Oh, they're doing all the Assassins. Okay. Fire Assassin, Deadly Seduction passive activates at 5 times now instead of 7. This was even more. Like, if the opponents heal... Basically, this is good against Riley. If the opponents keep healing and healing and healing and healing, she will activate her passive, and then she'll ignore defense with her next skill, right? Not a counter, but a skill that she actually gets a turn, if I recall correctly. But now it's just they've eased the passive condition. So, 5 times. It's good against Riley's, though, in general. Just tanky things that heal and heal and heal. It's a Riley. Basically, it's a Riley counter. So that's good. I believe this was even higher before. Was it like 10 times, and then they did this in a balance patch before they made it 7? So Wind Assassin, Shadow Assault. Assault's instead of random enemy, it now assaults the enemy with the lowest HP once it kills the target. If you guys are familiar with the Wind Assassin, we just used her not that long ago in a video. Light Assassin, Silent Reaper. This one is actually very interesting. Effect out if the target dies, decrease the attack bar of all remaining enemies by 100%. I think that is what makes this unit actually see some gameplay more. Because you kill something, you do big damage, you kill something, and then decreases attack bar. And then she's a control unit. So she's a damage dealer. She's got defense breaks. She's got, what, Brand and Silence, too? If I recall correctly, and then she's got the silence on skill 3. I'm just trying to remember what she does off the top of my head, and I took sleeping medications too. I know it seems like I took a lot of caffeine, but it's the opposite. So yeah, I'm just trying to remember exactly what she has, but I think that this unit is actually going to finally see some play, because I never liked her, and I never liked her, and I never liked her, and now she's starting to be... Now she seems relevant, right? So decrease the attack bar of all remaining enemies. That means that they can't, if they have no attack bar, they can't violent proc, right? So it's not just like a stun for 1 turn, and then like, oh, they just violent proc out of the stun, and then they kill your entire team. They don't have any attack bar, so they don't get turns. For most units in the game, that's how that works. It's very nice. Dark Assassin, Endless Death. While Endless Death is on cooldown, the damage you deal is increased by 50%, which is nice. Dark one was always pretty decent, though. I like the Dark one. So, Water Harp. Oh, we see the Celia buff, guys. I see a Celia buff right there. I'm going to pretend I didn't already kind of glance over. I couldn't help myself, guys. I saw the Celia buff. I was like, I got to take a look. I got to take a look before we do this on video. Water Harp Magician. Effect change. Shield amount is proportion to max HP of the caster now instead of proportion to damage. Creates a shield equivalent to 30% of damage on all allies. Creates a shield equivalent to 30% of your max HP on all allies for 3 turns. So, just CC now. I mean, she was just CC before. I don't know why I'm saying it, but at least she was like a damage dealer. Like you could run her as a damage dealer CC, but now it's like, I mean, you still could, because her first skill, the first skills of these Harp Magicians actually are pretty decent damage. It scales based on speed, so it's really not bad. So you still could run her as a damage dealer, but we've got the skill 2 of the Water and Light Harp Magician. Nightmare Melody puts all enemies to sleep with a 50% chance, is now 60% chance. Wow. Inflicts 1 continuous damage for 2 turns, is now 2 continuous damage for 2 turns. Amazing. Amazing to buff an LD5 where she AoE sleeps sometimes. The sleep is not even that impact. Again, the Hypnomeows. Hathor is not as meta as she was before a couple of years ago. So even if they brought Celia and Sonnet back to their pre-nerf glory, because they nerfed these units, so even if they brought them back to their pre-nerf glory, they still wouldn't be as meta, because there's still Josephine, which is a strong counter to that. There's also still the Hypnomeows, which they introduced, which is also counter to that. So it's like, as a Water Harp Magician owner, I mean, technically I do own a Water Harp Magician too. As a Celia owner, I mean, I can still take her in against Masha, so I shouldn't complain. She's still good for that. She's still good for her passive. even if her skill 2 is not LD5 worthy, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. So the Grim Reaper second away. This is odd that the Grim Reaper actually gets changed second away. Like, I was not expecting this at all. Effect added: if you attack an enemy who already has continuous damage, your attacks won't land as a glancing hit. This came out of nowhere, came out of the blue. I was not expecting this in the least. Fire Phantom Thief. So they got the Phantom Thief buffs, which, you know, every big balance patch, whichever ones are big, all the big balance patches, there's like a 4-star family that just magically, they're like, we love you today. We love you in this balance patch. Not the past couple of years, but this balance patch. So Phantom Thieves get a buff. 100% more damage if the enemy's HP is twice your HP or higher, and now it is 100% more damage if the enemy's HP is higher than your HP. So just passive condition eased a little bit. Dark Phantom Thief, elaborate plan passive. When the attack lands a critical hit, your critical damage is increased by 100% now. 100%. This is a solid unit for the Light Beast too. Even if you guys don't do PvP, for some of you that are just casuals that happen to, because he was a Hall of Heroes, right? The Dark Phantom Thief. So this is a great unit for Light Rift Beast as well. All Phantom Thieves, seen if the crime effect added attacks the enemy with a 30% crit rate bonus, which is just nice. Nice across the board. The Fire Phantom Thief, if you guys are not using him, solid unit. Very solid unit. I know you guys know the Dark one because you've seen him in TOA. And you're like, yes, he's ruined my life. I've sat there for 35 minutes just waiting for the invincibility. Block beneficial effects. You're welcome. That's how to do it, guys. Just block beneficial effects. You never have to worry about it ever again. Or just take things that go through the invincibility, because some things like the snipers go through that regardless, and the Lycas, the Dragon Knights, go through that as well. Fire Harg, little hummingbird passive, HP recovery amount is now 15%, which is surprising. I didn't know they were going to do that. Dark Harg, I mean, I didn't know they were going to do any of this, but we could make some assumptions on things that, you know, like Dark Slayer and like Oliver and things like that. So HP recovery amount is now 15%. Dark Harg, Owl's Hoop, Max, because this Fire Harg used to be a thing that people would use in tournaments too, like go right after Molong and everything. So what else? Dark Harg, Owl's Hoot, max cooldown increased by 1 turn, but he gains a turn instantly after using this skill already. So it increases your, it gives you a regen for your entire team, and then it gives you a speed buff as well. And he's very, very fast base speed. So there could be some interesting combos there. Maybe we'll play around with him, and we'll see. Then we have some awakening effect if some monsters changed. Wind Assassin is now increases critical rate by 15% instead of resistance, which is basically always should have been. But she doesn't need that much crit rate anyway, because she's got a crit rate buff. So, and then when Wind Harg increases accuracy by 25%, is now, he really didn't need accuracy. Increase the, I didn't even know that was his awakening, to be honest. I didn't know there was either of these awakenings. But increase attack speed by 15%. That could make, I mean, that could be interesting, actually. Is there a reason to have him on Swift? Maybe catch your opponents off will. Because I think his, I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember what his base speed is off the top of my head. But anything increasing attack speed by 15 is worth looking at and saying, maybe this goes on Swift now. Let's see if we can make this happen. Skill errors of some monsters will be fixed, which is just, I mean, there's not really anything going on here. It's just fixing bugs. And then skill descriptions modified, which is just, I mean, that's not changing anything. It's just skill descriptions modified. Honestly, I kind of wanted some more crazy things in this balance patch, because as you know, as a YouTuber, I'm like, I need crazy because crazy fuels videos. If it's not that crazy, I can't have. I mean, there's some that we could play around with that would be interesting, but for a lot of it, it's like they're very similar to what they were before. So it's like, okay, it's not that exciting. They're just, I mean, they're really just balancing things to be, if they're too OP, they're tuning them down a little bit. If they need a little bit of a bump, they're making them a little stronger. It's not a ridiculous balance patch, but I honestly, I just kind of hope that we had something a little bit more. Like, I hope we had like 30% more, or like maybe either 30% more units or 30% more pizzazz. Is that it? Like 30% more pizzazz in the ones that we actually got. But yeah, that's the bounce patch. Also, remember that we are getting some more stuff in the update altogether. So hopefully that stuff in the update will complement the bounce patch nicely. I'm really hoping for new 2As. I'm also hoping for new 2As because I said this is my prediction was that we would get 2As with this. So we'll see if the prediction is right or the prediction is wrong. But hopefully we get some new 2As because it's been a while, right? So I mean, it hasn't been that crazy long, but it's been some time. Anyway, that's for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's not like ridiculous game changing. It's just balancing things that should be balanced. Some things maybe not be enough. Some things might be. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see. It's not really like game changing, like oh my god though. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you as always in the next one.